Greetings. Hey, it's Susie Q. We're working with the power of thought. This agent of change. That can assist you with things that you're really accessing. And so sometimes these could be like tragic things, or they could be wonderful things. But when we look at the idea or the concept of power of thought, it does have quite a bit of a extraordinary frequency with this energy. So I've kind of got a timeline that I've been working with for a number of years. And sometimes when we look at time, we believe that, for my belief, is that it's a non-linear experience, non-linear. And so things, start showing up, and all of a sudden you start getting more guidance, and you start, reconciling some of the things in your lifetime. Let's just say I was a stinker. I was a stinker. I don't know. Maybe I was a stinker. Probably I was, but through nonlinear energies, we're just, seeing that right now, in the present moment and now, the Iman energy, eternal moment and now, is that a lot of that energy that I had as a younger person, I'm a little bit more inclined to just simply be in the presence of what is, instead of going out and chasing and doing all these things. But this is really extraordinary, because when we look at the nonlinear concepts of a person's life, or the person's story, or their divine purpose or divine lessons, all these things, we show up with that, with the QHHT, the Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique Level 2 practitioner, which I am. And we start seeing some of these things. And then what I really love about it is, with the nonlinear concept, is that we start, kind of looking through some of the big events, that we had in our lifetime. And so that's kind of what I'm working with right now, is just kind of getting a timeline. And it's not exactly in the right place, right? It's a non-linear experience. So back in 2007, I've probably done a couple videos related to this, but I was going to go into a hydroplane. It was still wet. I was going down a hill, going probably about 55. And then the power of my thought was that, I'm a yogi. I was a yogi back then, still a yogi. And then I just decided to relax, pray, send love to my children and future grandchildren. And I just let myself release. I just released in a certain way that I just released. And after that accident, I had no experience with it. So I work with a chiropractor, and a lot of people come in for personal injury cases, accidents, and stuff like that. But in my case, it seems like, for myself, through the power of thought, that I'm going to release and I'm going to let go. I'm going to release and I'm going to let go. That's what I kept saying to myself before the accident happened. And then I eventually did, I think, release from the body. And I think it just released. I didn't have any trauma. Um, I didn't have any really injuries, just a little bit with the seatbelt here. But it was, then I went back to work. I went straight back to work. So the power of thought is really amazing when we start looking at some of the stories of our lives, and we start noticing that we do have some other kinds of power that we can use, especially if something dangerous is going to happen or something wonderful is going to happen. It doesn't matter. We look at everything as a neutral stance. In that case, it was a neutral event for me. And through the power of my thinking and my way of looking at it, because I kind of thought I wasn't going to make it. And so, but anyway, that's what happened. And when we look at the power of thought, we can, before an event happens, oftentimes time goes down real slow. It's like super slow. And you have a lot of time to think, to process, to have awareness. And even while these other cars were on both sides, were like going, "What are you doing?" I just continue to be in my practice of, looking at the thoughts and the impressions that I wanted to work with before I had the accident. And then that's what happened. And so it was pretty amazing with when we start having an intentional practice with the power of thought. That happened to be an accident. Could have been something else. But that's exactly what I've been working with since 2007. And then, so when we're looking at nonlinear energy, we're really focusing in on finding some of the threads of our story, threads of our story. And back in 2015, I had a band of energies that came through that were a bunch of gifts that came through back in 2015. Probably started on the first day of 2015. A lot of things shifted, changed, and I was gifted with many other ways of looking at life. I'll just put it that way. I was doing body scans. I was highly psychic, highly aware, and it was very uncomfortable because I didn't see that coming. I did not see that coming. And then in September, there was a lunar eclipse in September of 2015. And that month of 2015 was really bold and robust. And there was a lot of other things that came through that. So there was a sighting of what I call Jesus. Some people like see that, but it was a homeless man. He helped me. I won't get into all the details. He helped me, and I was safe, and that was part of that. And then I also had another session with a person who does the work of Eric Pearl, and I think it's called Reconnection. And during that session, I had eight beings that were working on me. Now, I was on a massage table, and then I could see. My eyes were closed, and I was in a meditative state, but I could see all of them, and they all looked exactly the same. They all looked exactly the same. And what I noticed from that is that they were kind of working with some of the areas of my body, and it started off with electrical currents in different places in my body. And at one point there was one being that was at the top of my head, and as it turned out, they weren't. I don't know, I can't even process it. um, it felt like the practitioner was holding my head the whole time, but it was the other being that was holding my crown the whole time, my whole head. All right. So when we look at some of these things too, with that solar eclipse, and I'm sorry, it was a lunar eclipse in September of 2015. There was also some other things that were going on, and that's when that near-death experience came through. And so what's funny is like, okay, people are like, well, you didn't die, right? Like, no, I'm still here. But sometimes with non-linear energies, is that we're working with the concepts that it's not always what we think it is, that there's going to be some more to the story. So when you're looking at nonlinear and working with the power of thought, we have more guidance that we start kind of looking at all the dots and putting them together and then noticing this is what's exactly happening. And so the NDE was basically back from 2007. People go, well, why didn't you know that then? I'm like, well, because I was, busy. I had kids, I had grandkids. I was working as a real estate broker and new home sales. I was busy, so I just continued to persevere through those energies. And even with the accident, I didn't really tell people too much about the accident. It was a pretty severe, it was a bad accident. Anyway, but here I was. And I think what happened was with the NDE, with the lunar eclipse in September of 2015, is that I think that finally I've been kind of rising to, following the dots, following the dots. And so all these energies with the power of thought, we have so much power within us. Each one of us are strong, we're capable, and we're able to access that which we are seeking, that which we are seeking. And the more that we move into that power of thought and feeling into that progression of the power of thought, just notice that this is working for you as well. And if you're not really accessing that, it would be good if you just start kind of playing a little bit, just a little bit, with some of these energies, and just notice that the power of thought it's so amazing and it's so wonderful that we can find better solutions going forward, get better results for some of the things that we've been asking for, or some of the goals or some of the intentions that have been resting for you right now. I feel like you can really propel this energy. We know that 2023 is every year is every moment is an epic year, right? So but we're still with this energy, we're suggesting that you are able to really jump into these different timelines, move into different spaces, and create a better experience for yourself and for the people that are around you. And the more that you focus on that power of thought, you just want to really anchor that that energy in and anchor that energy in so that it will help a person feel lighter in their body and know that that power of thought is always working for us. It's always in the realm of our consciousness. It is always there and available. And so I think this is it for now, but I just really had a burning desire to talk about the power of thought today related to that car accident. And I've talked about it many times, but the more I look at it with the timeline, it's a non-linear energy that we're working with. And so maybe we had something that was 20 years ago, and all of a sudden we start noticing, well, that's why that happened. We start, and we don't have to look at the past either. We don't want to talk about the past. We don't even want to talk into the future, but we start noticing that we're beginning to have a higher insight about what we are and what we're doing here on this beautiful planet. So I think that's it for now. Have a great day. We'll see you soon, and namaste.